So my part of this is more in the theoretical. But before I start that, y'all can kind of ask me a question I'm going to ask you. Why are you here? Why aren't you in one of the fighting classes? Why are you in this class? Why?
For me, I feel like there are a lot of people that you can learn fencing from, but to really understand the more courtier side of what we do, which is one of the three pillars of being a Reiki fighter, you have to take those opportunities to learn these from people that know it and live it and show it in a classroom setting like this. Is ideal.
Miguel, you're one of the young hot sticks, so to speak. Why are you here? Why aren't you out sharpening your skills out there?
I feel like for me, I get to learn a lot from the group that I have been through a lot. There are a lot of good fighters, and I get to practice a lot. Right now I'm practicing 3 days a week. And one of those practices include learning how to fight with flash and dash and Panache. I don't want to just be the hot stick, like I said. I don't want to just be the guy who wins tournaments. I want to be the guy who's honorable on the field. I want to be the guy who makes the crowd go, ooh, not because of a nice shot, but because of the funny joke or the banter that I have with somebody on the field before I throw the nice shot.
Excellent. All right. And, no, I'm not asking you. Something I ask you. Why are you here? No, there is no one behind you. You are on the spot.
Well, really kind of the same reasons that the others have said. You can learn the techniques and stuff through the practices, but also there's more to regular fighting than just technique. It's just the mechanical aspects of it. There's also the banter and the style.
You guys are in the right place then. Good. Good. So, this Panache thing, where does it come from? Is it something that you're born with? Is it something that you can study, you can develop? Is there anyone who is automatically unable to be Panacheful? Other than you. Engineers. I don't have an answer for this other than I think it comes from inside the person. My first start down the road of Panache was almost aborted. My parents at the age of 5 had me sit and read a child's version of the Three Musketeers. And it was great. And we got to the end of it, and I looked at my dad and I went, there is a part of the story I don't get. Why is the Cardinal the bad guy? He's trying to keep these 4 ruffians in place and out of trouble and out of causing problems for France. Why is he the bad guy? Obviously, I didn't get it. Time went on, though, and we moved on and found some of the movies that Rob was going to talk about and you're going to read about. I was a big Errol Flynn fan. Didn't figure out that sword fighting really doesn't look like that. Then fenced for 3 years in college. That did nothing to dissuade me that fencing didn't look like that. And then I found the SCA, and unfortunately at the time that I found it, we were still using weapons that let us kind of fight like that. It wasn't until things got heavier that I realized it doesn't really look like that. That it could look better. One of the things that one of the heavy fighters told me when we were introducing the heavier blades is, my God, I can see what you guys are doing now. And it's so cool. But I'm straight here a bit. For me, whatever Panache I may have, to me comes from knowing who I am, not who Don Sims is. Because as Marie will tell you, Don Sims and Aubrey are horrifically different people, and she would really like Aubrey to come home and stay and Don to go away. But have that option. To give you an idea of how different the two of us are, we were at a party, a Christmas party maybe a year ago, and someone I know in the SCA who'd never seen me outside of the SCA walked up and went, Aubrey, you're quite ordinary in regular people clothes. Yes, We are separate people. And we really are. For me, the wellspring of Panache is knowing who Aubrey is, how he feels about things, how he looks at the world. For me, there's oftentimes a internal soundtrack going on. There's a set of songs that, for me, guide me through whatever situation I'm in. They make me remember who Aubrey is. I'm going to grab one of them to be able to get to play loud enough. Marie is, by the way, very sick of hearing this song.
It's his ringtone.
Yes, it is. Now, when I hear this, to me this exemplifies the power and the confidence of the Renaissance. It is what they are all about in one song. When I close my eyes, I see the pikemen of the Swiss coming down the road from Milan, catching the army of the French king by surprise. I see Francois I, 21, gathering his household cavalry around him, realizing that he's now got to charge pretty much hopelessly into the face of this to buy time for his infantry and his artillery to form. And they charge, and they charge, and they charge, and he buys the time. And the fight goes the entire day. The Swiss eventually push through to the French infantry. And while they're doing that, the French artillery is tearing huge gaps in the pike squares. The end of the day comes. The French have survived. Their Venetian allies, 25 miles away, have heard the guns, and they're marching to the battlefield. I see my great-grandfather, who was a vassal of the Duke of Lorraine. Lorraine being an independent duchy at the time. Why is the Duke of Lorraine even there? Because he was also the Duke of the Barrois, and therefore a vassal of the French king. So my great-grandfather is at the elbow of the French king throughout the day. End of the day comes, and the French king sends him off to find the Venetians. His job is to guide the Venetians to the French right flank. So when morning comes, the Venetians are on the left side of the Swiss who don't know they're there. So he rides through the night, he finds them, he gets them to the position. Morning comes, the Swiss renew their attack, and out of the woods comes the Venetian heavy and medium cavalry, the head of the Venetian columns. They charge right into the flanks of the first Swiss square, and it breaks. Something that had not been seen on a battlefield in almost a century. A Swiss formation breaking. And then the second breaks. And then the third one is swept from the field as well. I hear this and I see the young French king, flushed with victory, kneeling before the Chevalier de Bayard, who was known in his time as the knight without fear and above reproach, to accept knighthood at the hands of a mere knight. And then my grandfather kneeling, or great-grandfather kneeling before the king and accepting knighthood from him and a county as well. This kind of thing, this feeling of knowing who I am, helps me find the center. And as I said, whatever Panache I have comes from that. Now, these gentlemen will get into the beyond the theoreticals.
Why didn't we think to put a sound on?
All right.
You were Jeremy's cadet.
Yes, I was.
By the way, just so that all of you who don't know, Don Robin of Gilwell, whose cadet was Don Jeremy James Scurlock. Don Aubrey, who was Jeremy's cadet. Me, who was Aubrey's cadet. Maybe there's just something in this line. All right, I view things differently. Avery and Sean are the same person. We wear different clothing. We talk about some different things. I'm who I am. I can't be someone else. I was a theater major. I studied theater from the time I was about 8 years old. And when I was younger, I was an amazing character actor. I could become whatever because I had no idea who I was. And if you don't have a personality to lose, it's real easy to assume something else. It's taken me 43 years to figure out who the hell I am. I don't want to let go of that. It was way too hard to get there. So for me, it's all about who I am. Because of the theater background, for me, I'm always on stage. It is always a show. When Gwyneth and I were Baron and Baroness of Bringalot, it got sort of driven home to me that, oh dear God, you are always on. A random comment at practice that you thought was only heard by the guy standing next to you, suddenly the Baron says X. Oh dear God. Okay. Panache is not necessarily for me simply being, as Aubrey described, grand. I think that's a wonderful description, and for him that's what works. For me, it's stage presence. It is how do you take the area you're in, whether it's on the field, whether it's in court, whether it's simply talking. And you will look that certain people do have it as a talent. There are certain people that they just come into a room and the eyes go that way. And we all know them, that's just the way they are. There are people who can learn how to. Those who have the talent and work at it, they get scared. And most times it's in a good way. Whereas for Aubrey, he talks about the soundtrack and he's got the Renaissance music with the grand display. For me, yeah, there's a soundtrack, but it's different. Depends on my mood. That soundtrack could be the theme from Conan. It could be a song by a group called Scraping Fetus Off the Wheel. It depends on the mood. Industrial thrash metal. When you are talking about Panache, it is you go onto the field and you take the field. I don't know how many times, and those of us who've been fighting for a long time, we've all done that. You walk out on the field, you take that field. Your opponent walks on the field, you look at him and you go, fight's over. They haven't called it on, we haven't raised our sword, we haven't done anything. I've won this fight. Because I own this field, and they're scared to death of me. Simply because they're like, oh crap, I'm on the same field with the great god Tiger. Or with Don Robin. And there comes you project your presence onto them. And when it really gets fun is when you have competing. When Robin and I get on the field at the same time, you can almost see the little walls of force in between. And it's a lot of fun though. The fact is though that with the right person, I can make Robin's persona bigger, and he can make mine bigger. They feed off each other if you're doing it right. Duncan and I have had, this was a long time ago, but the fights of that very, very first Rose tournament, where we used every square inch of the field that was about 3 times this big, with a running commentary through the entire thing. And you walk off the field and everybody's sitting on the sideline going, that was so cool. It didn't matter who won. Who cares? In answer to your question earlier, my answer for why I'm teaching this class, why I'm here, is because learning defense is easy. Learning to do it with style is not. One of the things that Robin's going to talk about, I'm sure, are the scenes with like Errol Flynn fighting the Sheriff of Nottingham, or Danny Kaye in The Court Jester. One of the things that most people don't remember, opponent was the same in both of them. And Basil Rathbone was a much, much better fencer than either Errol Flynn or Danny Kaye. Basil could fight, but he knew how to use his panache to be the bad guy. And you can do it both directions. And by doing that, he made the Court Jester and Robin Hood that much better, that much bigger in what he was giving to them. The one thing that you have to remember about Panache is, it's not just you. You can't go out on the field and just be you. You have to have an opponent, because otherwise, if you don't have a mirror, no one's going to see how bright you shine. And you've got to have an audience, and if the audience doesn't see it, then it doesn't count. Perfect example. Rose tournament a couple years ago, Don Snow and I are fighting in semifinals, something like that. He hit me with a shot. Many of you might have seen this on YouTube. Took my mask off. I fell down real quick. Mainly because I didn't want to hit me in the head when the mask wasn't there. I called the shot, everybody laughed, we walked the field. Shot wasn't good. It caught the leather at the very, very top of my mask and happened to catch. And I've been wearing that mask for 15 years now. It's the only time it's ever happened. It was a perfect angle, a perfect shot. It took my mask off. What the audience saw was Simone hit Avery in the head, his mask flew off. There is no way in hell I'm not calling that shot. Perception matters. Think about what the audience sees. Think about what they can do. Think about how they can bring you up higher and how you can bring them with you. That's what Panache is.
Choreography is who I am. While I don't do well is who I wish I could be. And why aren't we trying to be who we wish we could be? If we only wanted a fence, we can do that in air conditioning and stuff. It's a whole lot more comfortable. We're not here just to fence. When I went to college, I joined the theater group and I joined the fencing club. And both of them gave me sort of what I was looking for, and neither of them gave me what I was looking for. The SCA and the fencing field here gives me what I look for in both places and really quite fine, which is the audience, the queen. We are one of two things every time we go out there. We're either a bunch of Texans and Okies wearing leather and lace, sweating in a cow pasture, hitting each other with long bits of wire, or we are great lords and ladies, fighting for our ladies and lords, fighting for our queens, taking part in honorable combat and hearing about things that are a whole lot bigger than us. One of those is fun. One of those is real fun. Now, please understand, I am not talking about not trying to win. I am not. Do not ever say, okay, I don't care if I win, I want to do the cool thing. Once you've watched the period fighters sometimes, and you can see the guy who knows Degrassi beat the guy who knows Narvaez. You can see the guy who knows Narvaez beat the guy who knows Capoferro. You can see the guy who knows Capoferro beat the guy who knows Agrippa, and you can see the guy who knows Agrippa beat the guy who knows Degrassi. What do we learn from this? No particular set of techniques wins the fight. There are stupid techniques, but there are lots of good techniques. What we are looking for is the techniques that win the fight and get people to go, wow! As opposed to a technique that will win the fight and everyone goes, huh? We have gotten into several bad habits on steroids. One of them is we don't make it clear who won the fight. Fights end because flash, 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 flash. Back up, we salute each other, we walk off. And the two people who felt the blow knew which sword hit which person. But quite often, people out there don't. What's important is to make it cool for the audience. Now remember, we've got these beautiful fields laid out, right? We've got banners on them, we've got, things flying in the wind, and we've got pavilions all the way around. That's what it's for. I can fence without all this stuff. I can even fence rapier and dagger without all this stuff. We can have go. I was fighting Ingrid. I threw the perfect shot. It was unparryable. He didn't see it till it hit. It was perfect. It was wonderful. But there were two people at that practice, and nobody knows it but him and me. I want people to watch me and think that's cool. Now, I'm not saying winning is the only thing. And yes, sometimes you'll do the cool, stupid thing that loses you some chance of winning. But I'm after a mindset of wanting to win and wanting to make people go, wow.
He took notes.
It's not just you. There are two people out there. I actually wasn't going to use that many movie examples, paper notwithstanding, but they brought it up, both of them, and there are a couple of examples that are perfect. And the most perfect example for one of the things we want to do is not a fencing scene, it's a dancing scene. And both parties are dancing with style and grace, and the movements are perfect. It's Fred Astaire and a hat rack. It's a hat rack, a long stick of wood on a round base, and its movements are perfect. There are two of you out there, and your job is to help the other person look cool too. Now, there are several reasons for this, but here's the big one. You make them look really bad, and then you beat them. Oh boy, you beat someone really bad. You make them look really bad, and they beat you. Oh boy, does that make you look bad. But you make them look good. And then when you beat them, you have defeated a great warrior. Or if they beat you, well, okay, it was a great warrior who beat you. D'Artagnan says, well, if I'm to be killed, at least it can be by a musketeer. I fundamentally want to compliment my opponent before I run him into the ground. I mean, I envision something like, my lords and ladies, you stand in the presence of legend. Time-Out Moondragon is on the field. I urge you, please, all of you, come and watch this. His daring, his fire, his parries. You will never see anything like this again in your life. Not after he faces me. Now, the point here is, there's drama there, there's emotion there, there's humor there. But if we walk out there, that's not exciting. Now, I've done some choreography for plays, and one thing that became clear to me when I first started doing it, if I'm choreographing a fight with you two, and I want you to look like the greatest warrior in the world, that's your job. Because you're not the greatest warrior in the world. You can't look like it. But he can look like he's facing the greatest warrior in the world. I want to look like I am facing a great challenge, especially when I'm not. I want this to look like something the Queen should care about. Okay, we're on stage. There are, I admit to having prejudices here, and one of them is a pro-on-stage-on prejudice. And you're going to hear me disparage some people from other kingdoms. Live with it. I have a perfectly good excuse. I believe it. Fundamentally. There are people out there who are out to win the sport we're playing with these weapons. And yes, there's a sport to it. I'm not going to deny that. But that's all they're doing, and that's never been all that on-stage artists do. We are pledged to the Queen. Why? I mean, I've had people ask that. Why should I give up some of my good fencing time to go stand behind the Queen? To get good fencing time. To make it bigger than just winning the fight. Now, everyone can do it. Like everything else you've ever done, you can't do it perfectly the first time. I think a lot of people are afraid to say anything on the field because they're afraid it'll sound dumb. I promise you, you will not sound dumb on the field as many times as I have. You can't do it. You don't have time. I've been doing this since the 70s.
I'm trying to catch up, but it's a long. It's got to be.
The first time you parried, it worked. Mine sure did. The first time you threw a lunge, did you hit him? I didn't. The first time you say something cool during a fight, it probably won't work well either. That's fine. We let newbie fighters fight. We let newbie herald. We let newbie heroes hear. will, then you will. As soon as you decide you will. Have you seen the court jester? He's a nothing little nebbish, and he cannot fight until he's told that he can. And he doesn't merely fight. He simply owns the field. The guy is attacking him, he's pouring a glass of water. You can be the great and noble he will. And you'll make mistakes and you'll die doing it. That's fine. But this whole game is more fun if we're all more deeply into it, all serious about it. And I do not mean non-humorous. Serious means thoroughgoing. When you are taking a pratfall, make it a complete one that goes over 20 feet. Be serious about your pratfall. One of the things that you can do that is easy to do because it cannot possibly hurt your chance of winning the fight, because it happens after you've been hit, is to make it clear to the world what happened. And the best example I have for this is also from the movies. It's also not a fencing scene. Anyone seen any Three Stooges? How many times have you seen them stick their fingers in someone's eyes? Never. Never. Stand up. Stand up.
When I do that's okay.
Now, nobody that didn't look real to anybody, right? Now, react. It's the guy who gets hit that makes the fight look real. When Aubrey hits me, now I prefer to go ahead and fall down because I'm old school. A lot of people don't, I understand that. But if he hits me, and I back up and we salute each other, nothing happened except two guys salute each other. But if I back up and I kneel and I present him the handle of my sword, the world has seen it. The world has, it's real. This is a dumb, stupid game unless it's real. This is an exciting, noble game when it's real.
Donald,
Yes.
I just want to throw in something. There's a quote from a former king of Osceola that says everything on this. At one point during his last reign, Duke King was getting ready to leave work early because they had to drive from Austin to something in, oh dear God, North Oklahoma.
Yes.
It was like a 9-hour trip. And one of his friends at work like said, let me get this understand what you're doing here. You're getting off work early, so you can drive 9 hours, so you can go camp in the middle of freaking nowhere, Oklahoma, and pretend you're a king for 2 days. And King looked at it and went, no, that would be stupid. I'm getting off work early and driving 9 hours with my lady so we can go and camp in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, so 300 other people can pretend I'm a king.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
We have to agree to this together. We all have to be part of this game, and we can make it cool. Now, how? We've spent so much time talking so far about why it's cool to do this, but we didn't talk about how to do it. Okay. You are matched against someone. You hear the parents. Okay? What are you going to do? You're going to go talk to them, decide what weapons to use, right? Are you on yet? Are you on stage yet?
Yes.
If you want to be, only if you choose to be. Now, what I do, I walk up and say, what weapons do you want to use? You will use anything you want. I'm already trying to project an image of invincibility. But I'm also trying to say, look, I've done this a lot. I can use the weapons. I don't care. And what that means is I face everybody's best all the time. Cool. Don Robert, last time we faced, successfully made me choose weapons. He's the only one this century. But I'm already being Robert. If I'm faced against somebody new, one of the things I'll say is, look, yeah, I know I'm one of the white scarves, but I am one of the beatable white scarves. There are holes in my defense. Go find somebody. There's Avery. He knows them. I know him too, but if I tell you, then I know which ones you're aiming for. Go ask Time Bob how to beat me, and then come out and kill the pompous old man. Now, there's two things I'm doing there. One is exactly what I'm saying. I am beatable. The kid, particularly the fast, hot kid, took me out of the last tuning I am, can beat me if he finds the holes. But I'm also trying to present somebody who cares about everyone else they are. Trying to make the whole fighting thing bigger. Walk on the field, okay? Maybe you are not ready to try to toss off a comment during a fight. A lot of people aren't. That's right. A lot of the times I'm not. I'm not trying to say that this is in my mind all the time. But most often, before Leon is called, I have said something complimentary about my opponent, or saluted my opponent's lady or lord, or done something to try to raise them up. I was away from on stage for a year and a half in the mid-80s. When I came back, I had not had practices with anybody for a year and a half. And I got matched in my first Queen's back against the worst possible opponent. A young, hot, fast newbie. Okay, this is someone who can find the holes. I'm very rusty. I was talking to her a little bit. Discovered she'd never met a queen. I said, would you like to? Tell you what, when they call us to the field, I will come pick you up, escort you, introduce you to the queen, and take you on my arm onto the field. Why did I do this? Because I was going to one-shot her if I could, because I didn't trust my peers just then, and I wanted to give her something so I wouldn't feel bad one-shotting. Okay? Now, here I'm using the let's play the cool thing specifically as an excuse so I can count. This is not trying not to win. Now, after Leon is called, focus on your parries, focus on your fighting. Do you have time to say things? Some people can, some people can't. But I'll tell you a couple of things. There are lots of times in the fight when nothing's gonna happen. Okay, now he's 10 feet back. I can say anything I want. Ha! Running like a scared rabbit. I've got time. I'm not doing anything right now. Every time Leon is called, look cool. I don't care how. Salute your lady again. Salute the other guy's lady or lord again. Salute the queen again. Do something cool. Now, do it quickly and then focus back on your tactics. Because by the time Leon is started again, you should have a plan again. As soon as you're hit, fight's over, you don't have to worry about whether or not you'll distract yourself. You can say any cool thing you want. The minute you hit him and you know he knows it, which is not the same thing as hit him, you can say, stand back and say cool things. You don't ever have to do it while you fight. Go look at any movie. Hour and a half long, somewhere between 5 minutes and 20 minutes of it is fighting. The ones where it's more than 10 minutes are rare. But they're being Errol Flynn, being Michael York, being D'Artagnan, being Robin Hood. Do the whole thing. How many of your favorite lines don't happen during the fighting? All my life, all I wanted to be was him. Shirtless to the point of idiocy. These things happen completely off the field. These things happen in court, they happen at the, when walking around. Believe in it. Believe all your opponents are noble. They are, by the way. And I can prove it to you. Every single opponent you fight is a hero and is an honorable. How do I know that? Fights end. You cannot end the fight in unstay order without somebody making an honorable decision. I want to keep going, but I can't. I've been here. Right? The absolute rock solid assumption you make walking on the field is this person will show me honor when he doesn't want to. Treat him or her like that's what you're facing, because you are. When the fight is over, go compliment that person. To that person's little lady, to that person's don if they're a pedef, to the queen. Remember, the first time I fought Lady Marie, I walked off the field and I went up to the queen. I said, I just ran backwards. I do not remember the last time I ran away. That's not how I fight. Now, she was new. She was not well schooled. She was 100% into it, and she was coming at me, and I ran. I only had about 35 years of fence to practice that. You can do this. She caught my eye at her first time. Because she believed it. Because she did it. If you lose the fight, okay, that only costs you one thing. It costs you another fight later because you'll be out of the turn. That's all it costs. Nobody has lost as many fights as Taiwan Moon Valley. I will never catch up with him. Why? Because he's had more successes than anyone else. And you always, except in the turnies you win, you will die. That's normal. Accept it, live with it, love it, go with it. But you never have to walk away from the ring saying, I didn't do anything cool. Now, what's your way of being cool? I don't know. I'm a guard. I'm prepared to make up a line in the middle of a fight. Lots of people can. You don't have to. You need to find your way to be cool. Taiwan once won the prize for the best fighter with one word. He fought someone, he just said, next! Just standing there, you didn't hear who it was, just come kill him. And the look of it was cool. Now we're all into the look of it, that's what? If not, what's with the funny clothes? What? Believe in it. Look cool. Act cool. Now I asked my wife when I was planning this last night, I'm not sure if this is a class, or a pep rally, or a sermon. She says it's a revival tent. It really is. I'm trying to get people all excited about these ideas. Because all you need is encouragement and excitement. There is nothing you can't say before the fight starts, and it won't affect your fight at all. There is nothing you can't say after the fight is over, and it won't affect your fight at all. Say cool things. Compliment the other person. Look for something cool to say. Now, something else. When you beat someone, you owe them one thing. After you're off stage, tell them how. Yeah, I know, you just managed to pull off a victory on Don Avery because you found a hole, and you want to use that hole again. Give it up. When it's Don Avery, he's going to see it too. Usually. And even if he doesn't, which is cooler? Hitting him with the same shot at another tourney, or teaching Don Avery how to fart?
Jump in real quick. One of the things that over the last 10, 15 years, with the explosion that we've had of information available, you can go out and you can study and you can learn how to fight as close as we can figure out to what Gigante taught, to what Capofero taught, to what Agrippa, the list goes on and on and on and on. Honestly, so what? Again, you can do that in a nice air-conditioned hall wearing, nice pretty white clothes, and it's fine. As much as we know about history and how important it is to know what happened in 1973 or 1520 or whatever it may be, we need to know our history. What happened in AS 10? What happened in AS 23? How did we get here? I will tell a very quick story of my favorite fight I have ever had, and yes, it involves you, Duncan. At that, to save the queen that got rained out. there's a White Star Circle going on. We are two of the top 3 cadets that we know who's being talked about over there. There is no question who's being talked about over there. We have both been on stage for the last 6 months, 24/7, with a parade of people walking over to Duncan and going, "Are you okay? Are you happy? Are you thinking good?" Just like, shut up and leave me alone. The thing is, it's raining. Nothing's happening. They have closed the walls of the tent where the White Stars are at. They can't see what we're doing. They're trying to generate points for the actual melees that are going on, except for the training they can't. So people are like going out and doing pickup fights. And the organizers are like, "Do pickup fight. 5 points for your team for each one fight you win." And Duncan looks at me and goes, "First one to 100? Sure, why not?" And for whatever reason, you're always going to find that one person that your fighting style and their fighting style just mesh. It's not that they're, "Oh my God, a great fighter," you're, "Oh my God, a great fighter," but together, you are great fighters. You put on great fights. And we started fighting. And we started at like level 2, and then it went to 3, 4, 5. By the end of it, we're at 14 on a scale of 1 to 10. We are both pulling moves off that neither of us have any business whatsoever pulling off. And the reaction that we're having with each other is, "Wham! I got hit. Dude, that was so cool. How did you do that?" And it's back and forth. And nobody was ever more than like 1 point ahead the whole way up. And in the end, I think Duncan got there first. He happened to get to 100 before I did, but honestly, yeah. And we got done. And like, wow, that was really cool. We go and give each other a big hug. Now here's where it comes in, where the Panache part comes in. Everyone else stopped. When we got done, we got a standing ovation from the 30 people who had completely and utterly frozen because they were watching what we were doing. And it wasn't because, ooh, we were fighting well. It was because we were putting on a show. To us, it didn't matter whether we had the audience. That was part of what was going on. But just by being who we were, by being willing to go that, by me being willing to give to him being willing to give to me, it happened. And everyone standing around watching was like, "Oh my God, where the hell did that come from either of you?" And here's where it gets really funny. These guys never saw any of it. And it didn't matter. And when the day becomes icky and there's political stupidity going on, or my back's really hurting, my knee says, "I don't like you," or "It's too freaking hot, I don't want to be there," I honestly, that's my touchstone. I reach back because we looked at each other after it was done. We realized the reason why we got that place was because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, honestly, what anyone thinks about why you're doing this and why you're doing it. The reason we all did this to begin with was not to go win a fight. We did it because we all read the wrong books, we all watched the wrong movies, and swords are cool. As long as you remember that, the rest of it will happen. But you gotta remember, swords are cool, and you get to play with them.
And if you got your idea for movies, then your idea was always about show it to people.
We talked about cool things to say. We talked about cool things to be. Kind of cool things to do. Here of late, we've all been concentrating on tight little parries, which, just enough to pull your opponent offline and leave you online. How exciting is that to the folks out there? You do this.
Say, we're not fighting right now.
But your opponent
You
has
still want to shot at me? Fine. Get out of the way. I mean, you can't against me. I'm done. Don't try it against me. But in general, yeah, you want to do a flashy move? Go ahead and get out of there. When you do something stupid, because sometimes you will do stupid things on the field. In the immortal phrase of Lady Marie, WWEFD, what would Errol Flynn do? Okay, if you decide to do something dumb because it's a cool idea, you can't keep yourself from doing it. Own it. Okay, this is dumb, I'm gonna do it Don't do it often. I do it sometimes, I don't do it often. And sometimes you'll get away with it, but if you choose to accept a danger for the purpose of doing something cool and you get hit, fine.
Sometimes the magic works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, and you can also turn that into you try the big flashy move, you get hit for it. I've done that. I do a spin shot with a cloak. Yes, this is asking to get hit in the back of the head, trust me. Spin, thud, make a loud signal. Well, that was really dumb, wasn't it? Did it fall over?
Yeah.
Acknowledge you've done it, like you said, own that you've done it.
Maybe you're the plucky comic relief. Did you ever think of that? I think we've covered just about everything. And I wanted to end with a movie quote. It's not actually in the paper because I just thought of it about 5 minutes ago. That absolutely encapsulates what I'm trying to say. The verb and the excitement and recognizing the audience and all of it. Let's put on a show like you're in the bar!